Baruch Sheamar, one of the most special prayers, which was handed down, delivered in a note to the rabbis of the Great Assembly, a note that came down from heaven. And this, it's precisely worded, 87 words, which is numerical value of puz, which is gin gold, the highest type of gold, most expensive type of gold. Every word here is golden and is precise, divine, and accurate. Basically, this blessing covers the whole Seder Hishtalshlus, the whole chain reaction of how this world was created. You know, he starts out with Baruch. Baruch means blessed. Blessed means to reveal. In other words, in order for godliness to be revealed within us, when is godliness revealed within us? When it touches our heart. If it's just abstract, if it's just an idea, a concept, it's above us. That's why the head is called the head. It's on top. It's on top of us. It's not in our center. It's not. It hasn't hit home for us. Baruch means we want godliness to hit home within us, within our heart, that we should be moved, inspired, wanting to change. So in order for godliness to be revealed within us, Baruch, to be drawn down and to be revealed within us, and that's a blessing. So first you have to go to the source of blessing. There has to be a revelation of godliness at the source of all existence. This is the introduction to the Pesukei Dezimra. In order for us, to sing Hashem's praises, us, created beings, flesh and blood, physical human beings, with all our foibles and limits and paradoxes and contradictions, in order for all of Hashem's created beings, the angels, higher levels of consciousness, and especially us, that we should be able to sing Hashem's praises. So there has to be a revelation, a blessing, a drawing down of this new energy, a divine flow of energy at the root, at the source. So that's why the blessing begins before we even get to the blessing, which is in the middle of the blessing, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam, which we discussed in the previous two classes, the simple meaning of the blessing. We start with a whole introduction. Baruch Sheamar v'haya olam. He's telling us how the world was created, how it all began, where it all started. And it's important for us to know. It's important for us to understand. In order to relate with Hashem, to have a connection with Hashem, Hashem created the world in a way that we can relate to Him. So He describes for us in this blessing how Hashem created the world, how Hashem went about to create the world. So the first thing he says is Baruch Sheamar v'haya olam. This is what's referred to in the Kabbalah as primordial man, Adam Kadmon. It says that man was created in God's image. Adam, we're created in God's image. In the prophecy, in the vision of the chariots, there was a vision of a person, a man, sitting on the throne, which refers to Hashem, and we're created in His image. So we speak of God's right hand, we speak of God's left hand, God's kindness, God's love, God's strength, Gevurah. We're created in the image of God. We talk about God's mind, we talk about God's compassion, God's heart. But there's also the source. If you go much deeper, just like within a person, if we have a full-fledged person, a person who has a mind, a person who has eyes and ears, a person who has a heart, emotions, intellect, the right hand is an expression of kindness, the left hand is an expression of being tough, the right brain, the left brain, the creative mind, the analytical mind, the limbic brain, the decision-making mind. So the person is a full-fledged composite of all these different faculties, all these different energies. Each one has its organ that perfectly matches and fits with with that faculty, with that ability, and expresses it, etc. But we understand that the soul is not intellect, emotion. The soul is something more, something deeper. The soul has the ability to comprehend and the ability to feel, but the soul itself is undefined by the individual faculties. You can't give what you don't have. Obviously, if the soul is able to think and able to understand, and the soul is able to feel, surely the soul has these abilities. But the soul, before a person is born, the soul doesn't have a body. There's no brain, there's no heart, there's no right brain, there's no left brain. So where are all these faculties? So they're in the soul, but they're not limited as they are in our consciousness. Once we're born, the soul enters into the body. And we have our conscious selves. Our conscious self, we have all these divisions. We have the right brain and the left brain and the limbic brain, and we have the right side of the heart and the left side of the heart, and we have compassion, and we have kindness, and we have toughness and strictness. We have all these different abilities, self-restraint, self-expression. But in the soul, when they're in the soul itself, they are in the soul, but you don't have these divisions. They're all contained in the soul. And we see that. You have an idea, right? You're struggling to understand something, you're stumped, you're confounded, you're confused, you're trying to figure something out, you're stuck. And all of a sudden, you have your eureka moment, an idea pops into your head. Where did that pop into your head from? Where did it come from? I don't know. It seems like it just popped into my head out of nowhere. So what does that tell me? It's like a window into the soul. It tells me that we have a subconscious reality, which I'm not even aware of. I had no clue. While I was struggling and working so hard to try to find a solution and to figure it out, and I was confounded and confused and frustrated and upset, and I couldn't eat and I couldn't sleep and I wasn't myself. And all of a sudden, this big breakthrough, it all comes together, I figure it out. Where did it come from? So I know that there's a reality within me that I'm completely unaware of. A subconscious reality. My whole consciousness is just the surface. But underneath the surface, there's a whole other reality that I'm not even aware of. Like you look at the ocean, it looks very calm. You don't realize that underneath the ocean, it's teeming with life, it's bustling with life. I don't see any of that. I'm not aware of it. I can't see it. So within our own soul, the part that we see and the part that we're conscious of is very external. It's only the surface. But underneath the surface, there's a whole reality. This whole reality within us, a subconscious that we're completely unaware of. But I know of its existence because the idea popped into my head. Where did this idea come from? It didn't come from thin air. It came from within me. So there's a reality within me that I am completely unaware of. But then you have to go deeper than that, because this reality, this intellectual ability that the soul has. So it's clear that the soul is not intellect. You can't define the soul as intellect. You can't define the soul as emotion, as love. It's a faculty. It's an ability that the soul has to understand, an ability the soul has to feel. But the soul itself is beyond that. The soul itself is alive. The soul is a life, a soul, an energy, a life that contains within it, it has all these abilities. But within the soul, it's completely insignificant. Take, for example, the sun gives off light. Now, you can't give what you don't have. If the sun gives off light, surely the sun has light. But it's almost like you can't even find it within the sun, because the light in the sun doesn't mean anything. What does the light add to the sun? It's like adding a candle. When the sun is shining brightly, I'm going to light a candle. What does the candle add? What light can the candle add to the sun? It doesn't add anything. It's so bright. It doesn't mean anything. So of course the sun has light. If it didn't have light, it couldn't give off light. But it doesn't add anything. It doesn't mean anything. So it's almost as if all there is the sun. The faculties are there. All these abilities that the soul has to think and to understand and to feel. Of course the soul has all of these abilities. But it doesn't add anything to the soul. It's not significant. It doesn't mean anything. So it's there. The soul is the source. So if the soul is thinking and the soul understands and the soul feels, obviously it can't give what you don't have. That means the soul has this ability to comprehend and to feel. But within the soul, it's almost as if it doesn't exist and it has no significance. But still in all, you still have the soul, and then you have its abilities, its faculties. It's like you have the sun and you have the light. Yes, I can't find the light in the sun. It's there, but I can't even find it. I can't even notice it. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't add anything to the sun. It's insignificant. But nevertheless, I can divide the two. You have the sun and you have the light, and the light is within the sun, and therefore it's insignificant. But it's there. I can differentiate for the soul and its faculties, its abilities. But then you have to go even deeper. These faculties that the soul has also has to originate within the soul. Again, you can't give what you don't have. So you have to take it a step further. You have to say that the faculties and the soul are like one. And the analogy for that would be, imagine you light a candle and then you have a torch. And the candle is swallowed up in the torch. So the candle ceases to exist. But the candle continues to burn, but it's part of the torch. It's inseparable from the torch. So I have a torch and I have a candle, but I can't separate the two. The candle didn't go anywhere. The light didn't go anywhere. It's there, and it's not there at the same time. It's completely there, and it's completely not there at the same time. It exists and it doesn't exist. It's no longer a candle, but it never was extinguished. So it continues to light, but it's no longer a candle. It became one, absorbed in the torch, inseparable from the torch. So if you go in the deepest level, the soul has within it abilities, all sorts of abilities to think and to feel. And these abilities are found in every part of the soul. You can't separate the soul from its abilities. And yet it doesn't even exist. It's there, it's not extinguished, but it doesn't exist. All there is the soul. So the soul contains all of its faculties, all of its abilities. It's there. Every part of the soul has all of these abilities, but it's not there. It's not separate from the soul. It's not apart from the soul. It's absolutely one with the soul. And that's what the Kabbalists refer to. That level, Kabbalists refer to as Adam Kadmon. That there is a level of Hashem which is beyond Adam. Where it says in the verse, Hashem is not Adam. Hashem, not only is Hashem infinite, Hashem is undefined. It's completely undefined. Hashem is absolutely one and unified and one and undefined, and you can't, there are no faculties, there are no sfirot, there are no emanations. All there is Hashem, period. But then you have, after the Tzimtzum Hashem, you have the first level of Adam Kadmon. That's the first. Primordial man is the first, where Hashem carries all these faculties, all these sfirot. But they're absolutely one and inseparable from Hashem. I can't find it within Hashem. There's no separation, there's no division. All there is a soul. But at the same time, the soul carries within it all the abilities that the soul has. So it exists and it doesn't exist at the same time. It's a sublime unity. You have all these 10 sfirot, you have all these 10 emanations, but they're not 10, they're not separate, they're inseparable from Hashem. That's the highest level. And then from there you get to the next level. So this is the level of, it says, Baruch Sheamar v'haya ilam. Not that Hashem creates. Omar is like in Hashem's heart, in Hashem's thought. Hashem thought there should be a world, and v'haya ilam, immediately there was a world. To use a human analogy, you have an idea, you have a project, you want to build a home. You have a concept, you have an idea. So in your mind, you're already thinking of the home and thinking of everything you want to build, from the kitchen to the dining room to the living room to the study to the bathroom. You're thinking of your whole home. So in your mind, my mind encompasses the whole home. There's no differentiations. There's no difference between the bathroom and the kitchen, and it's all in my mind. It's just my thought. It's just my idea. I just have an idea. I have an idea for a project. I just have an idea, and I'm envisioning the whole project. Of course, from thinking until doing, you're going to change your project many times. You're going to change your idea many times because we're human and we're fallible. So you may have to make corrections. But Hashem, already, right in the beginning, Hashem envisioned the whole world, the whole universe, everything that happened, everything that is happening, everything that will happen. Hashem envisioned the whole universe from top to bottom, from the beginning to the middle to the end, everything. The only difference is that when we think, nothing happens. Even when we speak, nothing happens. But when Hashem thinks, things happen. So the moment Hashem thought of the world and all of the worlds came into being. Baruch Sheamar v'haya ilam. Hashem thought, and this is referring to the first thought, the primordial man, this first, where Hashem carries everything. It's just in Hashem's thoughts, and everything is already there. So immediately everything came into being. And it just was. But the difference is that on that level, the world exists in a way there's no differentiation. There's no difference between something, the stone, and the world of divine emanation. It all exists only because Hashem thinks of it, because it's all carried within Hashem. So there's absolutely no difference between the physical, the material, and the spiritual. It's all nothing other than Hashem's thoughts. He tells a story that the Alter Rebbe once asked the Mittler Rebbe, his son, Rabbi Dov Ber, after Yom Kippur, he says, what did you daven with today? What were you thinking about during davening? So he says, I was davening with a prayer, that everything should bow down to you. Everything that stands erect should bow down to you. And this refers to, because in the world of the primordial man, Adam Kadmon, everything is really nullified Hashem. Bowing down represents being completely nullified to Hashem. Because on that level, on the highest level, the first level after the Tzimtzum, like the soul carries all its faculties, that Hashem in His thoughts carries the whole world, there's no differentiation between the physical, the material, the spiritual, even the stone. So in reality, in truth, everything really is completely nullified to Hashem. Later on, Hashem continued to create the world, and He went from level to level. What did Hashem, not that Hashem created anything new, what Hashem did is, He created the sense of differentiation and the sense of materialization, and now we sense ourselves to be separate, apart, independent. But the reality is, that truth remains, that on the level of Adam Kadmon, everything is truly one, everything is completely nullified, there's no differentiation, you can't differentiate between one faculty, the other faculty, between anything that exists, it's all one, it's all how Hashem carries everything. And one of the big Hasidim of the Alter Rebbe, Baruch Mordechai, from the city of Babroisk, once was traveling, and the Hasidim asked him if he can say some Hasidus that he heard from the Alter Rebbe, recite some Hasidic discourse that he heard from the Alter Rebbe. So he asked him, do you want to hear a Hasidic discourse, or do you want to hear a story? So of course the Hasidim said, you know what, we would rather hear a story. So he said that once Rabbi Nachum Chernobyl, the senior student of the Maggid, he saw the Baal Shem Tov also. He was a complete tzaddik of Tanya. So he once visited the Alter Rebbe, and they were sitting in the sukkah together. And the Alter Rebbe made sure no one is in the sukkah. He wanted to have a conversation with him, no ears. And so Baruch Mordechai said, the Mittler Rebbe, and he referred to himself. And Baruch Mordechai, we secretly climbed near the roof, near the schach, and we were listening into the conversation. And Rabbi Nachum Chernobyl asked Alter Rebbe, what was so great about Rabbi Mendel of Vitebsk? Mendel of Vitebsk, after the Maggid passed away and after the Malach, the angel, passed away, he was like the mentor. He became like the Alter Rebbe's Rebbe. He says, what was his greatness? He said, Alter Rebbe told Rabbi Nachum, his greatness was that he can read your mind. And Nachum says, no, that's nothing special. What was his greatness? So he says, when he walked into a house, he can read, not only could he read your mind, he knew everything you ever thought before. He says, okay, that's nothing special. So Alter Rebbe says, when he walked into a house, he knew every thought that was ever thought in that house, everything that you're thinking, and he knew every thought that will ever be thought in that house. And he says, oh, okay, now that's special. Okay, now I understand why you made him into your Rebbe. In other words, Rabbi Mendel of Vitebsk was connected to the level of Adam Kadmon, the highest level, primordial man, where just like the soul carries with it all the faculties, and they're completely one and undifferentiated, so too, this is the world of Adam Kadmon, where Hashem thought of everything that will exist simultaneously, from the top to the bottom, and everything in the order, everything the way it's going to happen. All the worlds and time and the past and the present and the future, including Mashiach, including Tchias HaMesim, including the seventh millennium, everything. And it was all simultaneously, and therefore, and he was connected to that level, therefore he knew everything. He knew everything you thought, are thinking, and will think in the future. So that's how he starts out. Baruch Sheamar v'haya olam. That's the first level.